Good evening, my fellow Americans. Today, I am going to break with presidential tradition, and I am going to tell you all the truth. I would like to open with a quote from great American author Cormac McCarthy, from his sobering novel, The Road. Ahem. Once there were brook trout in the streams in the mountains. You could see them standing in the amber current, where the white edges of their fins wimpled softly in the flow. They smelled of moss in your hand. Polished and muscular and terginal. On their backs were vermiculite patterns that were maps of the world in its becoming. Maps and mazes. Of a thing which could not be put back. Not be made right again. In the deep glens where they lived, all things were older than man, and they hummed of mystery. My fellow Americans, though I came to office on a campaign of hope, there's little to be hopeful for. Human industrial civilization is on the decline. Global oil supply is past its peak, and we have wasted the past few decades in a mad fury of consumption, when we should have been relocalizing our communities and turning towards a sustainable way of living. Along with the peak in the global oil supply, there is a crisis of food. The Green Revolution, which has converted the agricultural processes by which we feed ourselves, has decimated the soil and the groundwater. It has depleted irreplaceable water tables, and through government and corporate cronyism, it has stolen the arable land from the people and handed it off to multinationals, while allowing these same multinationals to play God, creating terminator seeds and other dangerous gene codes. Ironically enough, this massive industry relies on ever-increasing amounts of cheap oil. The financial foundation on which our civilization stands, which, let's face it, is nothing more than a thinly veiled hierarchy, where the wealthy minority feeds off of the slavery of everyone beneath them, whether wage slavery, debt slavery, or traditional slavery, energy slavery or ecological slavery, is collapsing in on the rot and the fester of fraud and criminality which has run rampant in recent years. Ironically, we could have eased the transition to a sustainable way of living, had we not squandered our wealth on perpetual war, on the largesse of oligarchs, and on the mindlessly unnecessary binge consumption which we called our way of life, which was little more than an endless churn of the furnace of industry, converting the living into the dead, in an insane march into the Olduvai Gorge. Even more ironically, this financial system in our so-called way of life requires ever-increasing access to cheap oil. The biosphere of planet Earth, and this is the saddest part really, has been devastated by our industrial activity to a point where it may not be reparable. In our juvenile quest to convert the natural bounty and beauty of this planet which gives us life into a toxic slurry of products and consumables, we have left in our wake acidified oceans which now contain toxic islands of plastic trash, larger than the state of Texas. Oceans in which 90% of the large life forms have gone extinct due to overfishing and pollution. If current trends continue, half of all living species on Earth will be extinct within 100 years. That is if the climate doesn't enter worst-case scenario, in which extinction rates could be greater and quicker. The majority of waterways now contain undrinkable water. The old-growth forests have almost all been clear-cut, and the few that remain are in danger of being plowed under to graze cattle, or to grow crops for biofuels. Ironic that we would destroy life-giving biomes, carbon-consuming, oxygen-producing habitats, for fuel. More ironic still, that these biofuels have nowhere near the energy return of conventional oil. My fellow Americans, indeed, my fellow humans, the picture is grim. Industrial chemicals have become part of our biology, from the bisphenol leached into us from plastic, to the dioxin that is now in every mother's breast milk. We have literally turned this beautiful planet, our home, our mother, into a waste dump. Here, in the twilight of the American Empire, as the human industrial project not only enters into irreversible decline, but dives headfirst off a cliff, I must say, good riddance. Industrial civilization is not, and will never be, sustainable. Civilization itself, a project by which humans amass in cities, and require the importation of resources, is not, and will never be, sustainable. This is not about politics, or ideology. It is not about class or creed. This is about cold, naked reality. Our way of life is a death race. It is insane, and the clock has run out on us. Change will now come, whether we affect it or not. The choice before it is to turn with the tide of this change, to dismantle the industrial machinery that binds our souls, while decimating our bodies and our home. If we fight this paradigm shift, if we pretend we can continue on this path forever, pedal to the floor, consuming every last resource, destroying every last corner of the biosphere, then our purification will come by fire. The fire of crops parched by drought, and lit by lightning. The fire of revolution in the streets, as masses of hungry people worldwide demand a relief that is never to come. The fire of an atomic cloud, as desperate world leaders, madmen in suits and ties, distract their populations, and eliminate their competition. It is time, my fellow humans, to ask ourselves, what is it that we love? Do we love our cars, or our kids? Do we love our cell phones, or the water we drink and the air we breathe? Do we love our bank accounts, or do we love our freedom? Do we love our casinos, our pornography, our drugs, and our credit cards, or do we love each other, our non-human neighbors, our bodies, our world, our lives? To comprehend our problem in its totality, you must abandon your old ways of thinking. Detach yourself from the old paradigms, your conservatism, or your liberalism, your libertarianism, or your socialism, your capitalism, or your communism. These words mean nothing in the face of what's coming. Decide instead what it is that you love. And then go, and with all the fight that you have in you, fight for what you love. Good night, good luck, and God forgive us all.